All right, Buffalo Bills get the win in the 1 o'clock game. It was 31-7 over the Denver Broncos. Broncos came out firing, man. First drive, moving the ball, a 43-yard touchdown to Troy Franklin, 5-play, 70-yard drive, but that was it for the Broncos. They're down. They're up 7-0, and the Bills score the next 31 points. It was close though. Into the late into the third quarter, it was 13-7, and then Josh Allen with that spectacular 4th and 1, 24-yard touchdown to Ty Johnson, sliding across the back of the end zone. That put the Bills up 21-7, and the rest was history.
Yeah, that play, big. I mean, not a turning point because Buffalo kind of they were the better team and they sort of had control at that point, but that would have been a huge high leverage turning point if it had gone the other way, and it was an inch or a frame from the TV view from going the other way with his leg about to touch out of the back of the end zone. Incredible play. I mean, the classic Josh Allen play that he's had all the way through this season, right? Like, let's just find some way of making this happen, find a guy deep down the field, turn it into a positive play. Could have been huge for Denver, but unfortunately for them wasn't.
Denver the Bills controlled this game completely. Denver set a record for like lowest time of possession since 1983. Andrew Mason on Twitter said the Broncos' time of possession Sunday was just 18 minutes and 17 seconds. And that was their worst in any game. Their worst in any game since at least 1983 per Pro Football Reference. So the Bills were controlling the game, but they were getting stopped in the red zone, right? So, like, again, when you're predicting these games and we kind of half joking say, oh, the team that wins in the red zone and wins the turnover battle is probably going to win. Like, yeah, that's true, but it's also tough to predict. That's why it was 13-7 late into the third. And as you mentioned, if Josh Allen doesn't make a freak throw and Ty Johnson's knee barely hits before his foot hit out of bounds, if that doesn't convert, you're still talking about a 6-point game late into the third quarter, despite the Bills controlling the game. And it was all because the Broncos made a few red zone stops. But, again, the right team won. The Bills controlled the game, but some, red zone stops kept the Broncos in it for a while.
I was kind of interested how concerned. I mean, look, generally speaking, halftime interviews with coaches are the biggest waste of time that exist. I was, however, kind of interested how concerned Sean Payton seemed to be at the time of possession stuff when they were talking to him at halftime. He was like, we've got to change the time of possessions. But most important stat for us in the second half, time of possession. Like, is it really?
It's a proxy. But listen,
it's
not that you have to win the stat. It's a proxy for we need to convert third downs. We need to get off the field on third.
But
downs.
he was concerned.
That's what leads to that stat.
But he was concerned about not the other way. He was concerned about Buffalo having the ball this much and keeping. Like, actually, I think that was working in his favor in this game. Like, Buffalo was playing this time control, ball control, chew up the clock, shorten the game style on offense, which for a team like Denver, where you're big underdogs, you're expected to lose, I think that's actually helping you. Like, keeping this game to as few a number of possessions as possible is helping the Broncos, because if you get your one bomb to Troy Franklin early in the game, boom, touchdown, that's a possession. Doesn't matter how long it took. If you keep your drive alive with a fake punt pass, and instead of kicking the ball back, you keep that possession going. Like, the Buffalo Bills not going high octane and trying to create as many possessions as possible and therefore as many touchdowns as possible from their side of the ball, I think it's actually helping you. Like, and he was like, oh, this is a concerning development at the half. I want to change this in the second half. I'm like, dude, this game right now couldn't be going much better from your perspective. Keep it going this way.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about in the Washington game, Tampa Bay only had 7 possessions. Each team only had 8 in this game.
Yeah.
And so, yes, when you shorten the possessions, if the Bills have 8 instead of 11, you have a better chance to win.
For example, that
play. But I
think
the coach speaking that, though, the proxy for that is like we can't have these long sustained drives. We can't trust our red zone defense over and over, which was true, because at some point you're going to give up a 24-yard touchdown on 4th and 1. You can't trust your defense to always bend but don't break. At some point you have to make a stop, and that part was right. And it's also a proxy for, like, get off the field on third downs. We got to make a stop at some point.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you need to score points, which is the bigger problem.
True.
But, like, that play we talked about, the 24-yard touchdown to Ty Johnson, which was a frame / an inch away from being a turnover instead of a touchdown. Let's say Denver got that play. That's 13-7. You're down a score with Buffalo having missed an extra point, so you can go ahead if you score a touchdown. Like if they get that turnover and then they're able to execute a drive, now you're in the lead. Like that, based off the back of how Buffalo had been playing the game, this ball control, chew the clock, minimize the drives, et cetera, type of game plan. The thing that you were like concerned about at the half could have actually turned that into, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the third quarter, you would be going in with the lead. Like that's why that's beneficial to you. Instead, he's like, I don't like this. I don't like the way this game's unfolding. I don't know. I think that was actually quite a good thing for Denver. They just couldn't capitalize.
They also had Bo Nix led a really nice drive before the half and got the Broncos into field goal range, and they doinked one. A lot of doinks. They doinked one that didn't go through. Not unlike Washington. You got to doink. If you're going to doink it, it's got to go through. Inside doink. You got to go inside.
You got to bank it in.
Yeah, you got to bank it in. So it was 10-7 at the half. Easily could have been 10-10. Really impressive drive by Bo Nix just before the half.
How would you feel about doinks that land in the field of play being live balls?
You who wants to get rid of kicking now wants to add this extra work.
Yes. So in order of priorities, my first priority as commissioner would be to eliminate kicking from the game. If that for some reason, if that met with resistance, my next suggestion would be, well, okay, if you miss the kick but it lands inside the field of play, it's live, play on, right? Field it, deal with it.
Yeah, why not?
That happens in rugby. I asked that because it happened a couple of times yesterday, and it almost cost the team that was defending
pretty arena
the game
league-ish.
multiple times.
Arena league.
Yeah. It's like, imagine, you get the relief of, oh, look, he doinked it, he missed. But then, like, the ball's live, and they might score anyway.
Where was the blocked extra point? Oh, the Texans game.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Well, that's a live ball. Why shouldn't the doink?
Dicker just bats it, and the Texans are like, thanks, I'm going to pick it up and return it.
Took care of that one. No, dude, the ball's live.
We'll talk about that in an hour.
They were like instructing him on the sideline, like, dude, it's a live football. You can't just slap it down and be like, job done.
We talked about Josh Allen's sack avoidance and how great he had been at avoiding sacks. Broncos got him, twice?
Yep.
And one of them, he was begging for a call in the secondary, a hold, which was pretty bad hold. As I'm looking at it right now.
It was a
bad hold.
Patrick Surtain
that was missed.
Mugging a dude in the back of the end zone.
I think it was on Dalton Kincaid. So that was one of the reasons why Allen gets sacked on 3rd and 6.
Right.
And then there's the video of the official talking to Josh Allen.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the, what do I call it here? What kind of captioning?
Closed captioning?
No, this is deceptive captioning is what I call it. The deceptive captioners came out and said, here's the official apologizing.
Sounded like he did, though.
To Josh Allen.
Because they asked Josh Allen about it in the press conference. First of all.
Where did Pro Football Talk? Let me read where's the quote?
First of all, Josh Allen said he basically admonished him for yelling at him.
Right.
But then they asked him, they were saying that he was apologizing to you. Did that happen? Now, he didn't say it. He didn't say it did happen, but he sort of smiled sheepishly and said, "I'm not going to address that right now." It was like when you take the fifth, it's not because you're an innocent man wanting to stick to the rules, right? You take the fifth because you're guilty as hell and don't want to say it out loud. Like Josh Allen didn't say, he didn't say no. He just smiled and went, "I'm not going to address that right now." It sounded like it happened.
Vinovich told him, "Don't be yelling."
Yeah.
I wasn't happy with what was going on. Allen said I was yelling a little bit. He just said, "Don't be yelling."
Yeah.
So my bad. Sorry to Bill.
Right. But then they asked him, they were saying on the broadcast that he apologized to you. Is that what it was like? I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah, he shouldn't.
Yeah.
Shouldn't divulge.
But it sounded like he did,
I don't believe that.
You just don't want to believe it because that would mean that the invented guesswork projected
even if they guessed right
captioning
it's deceptive. Even if they guessed
correct.
Right. He's over here telling them you should have got this happened last week, right? And it was the idiot that we said with the fake account. But it's like, oh, look at Josh Allen, such an all-pro. He's coaching up Drake May. He could be talking about himself for all we know. We have no idea. We have literally no idea what he's talking about.
See,
end it. Stop putting your own spun words into other people's mouths and reading their body language. Just stop it. Everybody stop.
Right.
Everybody stop.
But you would hate for this to actually be correct because
I kind of would.
Yeah. because you hate this as a concept.
Yeah.
But every now and again, the guy guessing from like, this is what I think is happening on this like silent movie, essentially, is going to be correct. And that undermines all of your entire point. Your entire railing against this as a concept gets undermined immediately.
But we have no evidence.
You guess
we
right.
have very little evidence that there was an apology from Bill Vinovich on the sideline. There's very little evidence that there was an apology.
Whether or not there was.
That's also not his call.
Right.
It's not his call, right? He's not the back judge.
Well, he's
not the back judge. He's not making that call.
But the buck stops with Bill.
No, it doesn't.
Of course it does.
No,
he's the
it
head
doesn't.
official.
Bill's not watching.
No, but it's like his crew. My point. Like, it's your crew. You're the manager. You're the guy.
You think Bill Vinovich is over there being like, yeah, my back judge sucks.
Yeah.
He missed it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to apologize on his behalf. It's not even Bill's call. Why would he be apologizing for missing the call that he's not even looking at that during the play?
They're all Bill's calls.
No, they're not.
He's the head official.
There's 7 officials, right? There's 7 of those guys. But he's not over there apologizing for the back judge missing a call. He's over there doing what Josh Allen said he was doing, which was like, stop yelling, stop.
Have you learned nothing in your time managing people? The buck stops with the manager. They're all your calls. You are the manager. You're responsible. Bill, the guy with the white hat.
I don't know. I got
the
removed
white
from
hat.
management.
The white hat is the guy in charge of all of the decisions. Doesn't matter if it's some dumbass over there who missed it.
I'm going to apologize on behalf of my crew.
Exactly.
Just everybody stop trying to guess what people are saying on the sideline. We just went full shouty show.
You did.
I did. Sorry, I'm showing up on Wednesday. I'm going to make my shouty show debut on Wednesday.
Yeah, probably.
But it's common sense shouty show.
Anyway, whether or not he did apologize, he probably should have, because that was an egregious missed hole in the end zone.
Absolutely a missed call.
Yeah.
So this game could have been even worse. Look, I think high level. I just want to speak high level here really quick. Denver exceeded expectations. Outstanding season for them. I mentioned this last night, and we forget what happened during the offseason. It looked like it was going to be a dead season because they had a lot of dead cap, right? The reason why the Steelers got Russell Wilson for like $1 million is because Denver was paying.
Denver is paying him this year like $28 million or whatever it is.
Right. And so when teams, sometimes they suck it up and they eat the dead cap, and it's like, all right, we'll take a step back so we can take a step forward. Well, Denver said no. Yeah. We're drafting Bo Nix. We're going to have one of the best defenses in the league, and they made it to the 7th seed. It was really an impressive season by the Broncos.
Denver is paying Pittsburgh's playoff quarterback $28 million a year.
Yeah. Which is why overall it's a good move by Pittsburgh, but
right.
I mean, limits their season.
Yeah, look, I think Denver's season this year, they're the one team who lost pretty badly score-wise in the playoffs, whose fan base is not necessarily calling for them to fire the head coach immediately. Like
it's the first one. They're not trying to get everybody fired.
Yeah. Sean Payton, I think, has generally, by opinion, exceeded expectations. He's gotten a team that was not expected to be particularly good into the playoffs. And, okay, 31-7 is not a particularly close scoreline, but I think they gave a pretty good account of themselves in this game. Like, Buffalo is expected to be one of the contenders, one of the best teams in the NFL. For a lot of this game, Denver held them pretty close, and then it got out of control, late in the third quarter, early into the fourth quarter. Buffalo went away and then took a stranglehold in the game, and Denver didn't come back. But they gave a pretty good account of themselves in this game. I think this was a good season from Denver overall. And then Buffalo, they looked really good overall. Like, this is a team that looks like they can go on the run that they haven't gone yet, get into a Super Bowl, potentially win a Super Bowl. Allen was spectacular. It's not going to make a difference for MVP conversations. That already got voted on. It's already done. It's going to be Lamar Jackson based off the All-Pro votes. But Josh Allen, I think, has an entirely deserving case. James Cook was a real difference maker in this game. He ran extremely well, ran tough, gained yardage almost all the time. I mean, it's so funny because coming out, James Cook, younger brother of Dalvin Cook, he was just an 80% version of Dalvin Cook as a prospect, right? You are exactly the same as your brother, only 80% as good, as fast, as dynamic. Okay, 80% of Dalvin Cook is a really good player, which is that's a compliment as opposed to a flaw in you as a prospect. When Dalvin Cook, 80% of peak Dalvin Cook is an extremely good player. I don't know if he's got to 100% yet, but I think he's better than 80 at the moment. I mean, he looks really good.
Yeah, he was fantastic in this game. And they do a lot where they'll run duo, which, if you're watching a duo play, can hit between the tackles, or you read the middle backer and you just kind of bounce outside. Cook has been really good at bouncing outside, using his speed to the edge. I mean, I thought this summed up Buffalo's season really well. Allen was extremely efficient, spectacular 4th-and-1 touchdown to Ty Johnson, but he picked up 4 first downs with his legs. James Cook ran the ball well, and then they spread the ball. A 55-yard touchdown to Curtis Samuel. Khalil Shakir led the team with 6 catches. They didn't need much from Amari Cooper, who just had 2 catches, but they might need Cooper this week, right? It might be Cooper versus Brandon Stevens of the Ravens that they attack and give him 10 targets. The Bills have different answers every single week. It's not just Allen. It's not just Stephon Diggs. It can be anybody. And so I thought, Bills were very effective and efficient on offense. Defense played really well. And now I just can't wait. I'm just glad that the matchups ended up the way they did. I can't wait for Bills-Ravens. I mean, it feels like what should be an AFC championship game, and it's in the divisional round, much like Kansas City-Buffalo was in the divisional round last year. It's a tough road for both teams because probably have to go through Kansas City. We'll see if the Texans can pull the upset, but you probably have to beat a tough team, go to Kansas City to live that Super Bowl dream. But it's going to be a potential game of the year here, Ravens-Bills next week.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, those two teams, I think either one of them looks like they have the quality to be a Super Bowl team, but there's probably 3 teams now in the AFC that look like they're capable of doing that, and there's only 2 spots in the championship game, let alone the Super Bowl. It's like the MVP conversation or the All-Pro conversation. There are 3 quarterbacks that played out of their minds this year, and there's only 2 All-Pro spots between first team and second team. Like, one of them is getting left off ballots completely, and that's just unfortunate. Like, that's just the reality of it. There are 3 teams in the AFC right now that look like they could win a Super Bowl, and only one of them can even get there, let alone win the thing.
Yeah, and look, the NFC's got some good teams as well.
Right.
But, man, the trio here, we'll talk about Houston in a minute. They were really impressive. They have some work to do to upset Kansas City, but Baltimore, Buffalo, and Kansas City all look outstanding. Anything else on the Bills game before we talk Ravens?
Just that, Denver's defensive stars stood up in this game. It wasn't enough. Zach Allen had a really good game. Nick Bonito had a really good game after his performance. Patrick Surtain played well, albeit got away with that hole in the end zone. And the same thing is kind of true of Buffalo's. Von Miller, we've talked about him as a potential X factor late into his career. Like, he had a pretty good game as well.
Just 18 to 20 snaps,
yeah,
right?
like they only need him to be this sort of situational force in games like this and make a difference. He can. Like, I think a lot of the defensive sort of players that we expected to play well in this game were factors.
No, they definitely were. And shout out to the Bills' offensive line. They did a great job up front as well. Run blocking, pass blocking, really nice job overall by the Bills. All-around performance.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.